World War I, the Second World War, often abbreviated as WWW, was a global war that lasted from 1939 to 1945. It involved the vast majority of the world's countries, including all of the great powers, forming two opposing military alliances, the Allies and the X-Powers. In a total war directly involving more than 100 million personnel from more than 30 countries and major participants through their entire economic, industrial, and scientific capabilities behind the war effort, blurring the distinction between civilian and military resources as aircraft played a major role in the conflict, enabling the strategic bombing of population centers and the only two uses of nuclear weapons in war. World War I was by far the deadliest conflict in human history. It resulted in 75 million fatalities, a majority being civilians. Tens of millions of people died due to genocides, including the Holocaust, starvation massacres, and diseases. In the wake of the Axis defeat, Germany and Japan were occupied, and war crimes tribunals were conducted against German and Japanese leaders. The exact cause of World War are debated, but contributing factors included the Second Italo-Ethiopian War, the Spanish Civil War, Second Sino-Japanese War, the Soviet-Japanese border conflicts, and rising European tensions since World War I. World War I is generally considered to have begun on 1 September 1939, when Nazi Germany, under Adolf Hitler, invaded Poland and the United Kingdom, and France subsequently declared war on Germany on 3 September. Under the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact of August 1939, Germany and the Soviet Union had partitioned Poland and marked out their spheres of influence across Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Romania from late 1939 to early 1941 in a series of campaigns and treaties. Germany conquered or controlled much of continental Europe and formed the Axis alliance with Italy and Japan, along with other countries later on. Following the onset of campaigns in North Africa and East Africa and the fall of France in mid-1940. The war continued primarily between the European X-Powers and the British Empire, with war in the Balkans, the aerial Battle of Britain, the Blitz of the Uck, and the Battle of the Atlantic. On 22 June 1941, Germany led the European X-Powers in an invasion of the Soviet Union, opening the Eastern Front, the largest land theater of war in history. Japan attacked American and British territories with near simultaneous offensive against Southeast Asia and the Central Pacific, including an attack on the U.S. fleet at Pearl Harbor, which resulted in the United States declaring war against Japan. Therefore, European X-Powers declared war on the United States in solidarity. Japan soon captured much of the Western Pacific, but its advances were halted in 1942 after losing the critical Battle of Midway. Later, Germany and Italy were defeated in North Africa at Stalingrad in the Soviet Union. Faced setbacks in 1943, including a series of German defeats in the Eastern Front, the Allied invasions of Sicily, and the Italian mainland, and Allied offensives in the Pacific. Cost the X-Powers their initiative and force them in a strategic retreat on all fronts. In 1945, the Western Allies invaded German-occupied France, while the Soviet Union regained its territorial losses and turned towards Germany and its allies. During 1945, Japan suffered reversals in mainland Asia, while the Allies crippled the Japanese Navy and captured key Western Pacific islands. But the war in Europe concluded with the liberation of German-occupied territories and the invasion of Germany by the Western Allies and the Soviet Union. culminating in the fall of Berlin and the Soviet troops. It was suicide in the German. Unconditional surrender on 8 May 1945. Following the Potsdam Declaration by the Allies on 26 July 1945 and the refusal of Japan to surrender on its terms, the United States dropped the first atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima on 6 August and Nagasaki on 9 August. Faced with imminent invasion of the Japanese archipelago, the possibility of additional atomic bombings, and the Soviets declared entry into war against Japan on the eve of invading Manchuria, Japan announced on 15 August its intention to surrender, then signed the surrender document on 2 September 1945, cementing total victory and issue for the Allies. World War. I changed the political alignment and social structure of the globe. The United Nations was established to foster international cooperation and prevent future conflicts with the victory great powers, China, France, the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, and the United States, becoming the permanent members of its Security Council. The Soviet Union and the United States emerged as rival superpowers, setting the stage for the nearly half-century-long Cold War. In the wake of European devastation, the influence of its great powers won, triggering decolonization of Africa and Asia. Most countries whose industries had been damaged moved towards economic recovery and expansion. Political and economic integration, especially in Europe, began as an effort to forestall future hostilities and pre-war enmities and for essential common identity.